Do you know the joke about guitarists? They're so into themselves, they love guitar, they love soloing, blah blah blah. You know how it is, right? It's true. Guitarists are very self-absorbed. I'm very self-absorbed. I'm a guitarist, by the way. That's not what I'm talking about today, even though I'd love to talk about myself for a whole video. But as guitarists, it's good to forget the guitar for a second and learn other instruments. But I'm not talking about like taking lessons for 12 years with someone, right? I'm just talking about you have an instrument laying at home. Just play it. See how other people play it. Hey buddy, come here. It's very good to learn other instruments because it's going to force you to think differently. It's going to force you to think in that instrument. Yes, you can go learn a guitar solo that some guitarist played, but if you learn a saxophone solo on guitar, it's going to be a completely different perspective because the saxophonist is going to think about soloing way differently than you. Yeah, that's a sentence. A mountain biker can learn a lot from a road biker, even though they're different disciplines. A cross-country skier can learn a lot from what is that, long jumping skiing? I don't think a cross-country skier can learn anything from those. Let's go back to mountain biking. For example, in mountain biking, you have to climb a hill and then downhill, right? But the road biker, sometimes it's just flat. But sometimes they do have hills. By the way, if you're not following my mountain bike channel, what the hell are you doing with your life, bro? Anyway, this brings us to today's topic, which is bass guitar. So what I like about bass is that it's way less self-absorbed than guitar, right? And bassists usually are way less self-absorbed in their playing. It's not about just showing what you can do, it's just about serving the song, laying down the groove, and even when bassists decide to go crazy and solo and all that stuff, it still sounds distinct to the bass. If you get a guitarist to solo on a bass, it's going to sound like a guitarist soloing on a bass. So one of my favorite bassists is Jeff Berlin, and I came across one of his songs a couple years ago. You can't go anywhere. So I came across one of his tunes and there was a crazy bass solo in it. It was just the tastiest bass solo I've ever heard, and I was like, I have to learn this. But there's one problem with that, is I don't play bass. And even if I were to learn it on the guitar, it's not going to be the same because it doesn't sound the same. So back then, I think I just learned it on the guitar, and that was it. Fast forward to about a week ago, where I was like, why don't I actually learn this on the bass and try to play it? But because I don't have really good bass technique and all that stuff, I had to kind of figure it out as I go. And that taught me things that I could apply to my journey on the guitar. It sounds so cringy. But anyway, let's hear the solo first. It's not really clean, obviously, because I play bass like once every year. But anyway, enjoy. Because I don't have fast fingers, I had to sometimes slide into some notes that are picked or like fingered. But with repetition, as I was playing the solo, I kind of figured out what notes I can slide into and make it easier for me, because that's what works for me, right? And that's the whole point, is I learned something and I tried to apply what I know to it. And now I know that thing, you know? But here's where the fun comes in. Now that I can play it on the bass, I can do the same thing on the guitar because it's the same 4 strings and I don't have to change any fingering, believe it or not. I can just play it as is. And all I have to do is just focus on picking and the picking intensity and all that stuff. So the articulation, essentially. But it's not really fun to play the same thing on the guitar. So what I'm going to do is just speed it up a little bit because, you know, I'm better at the guitar than the bass and I want to layer it over the bass. Let's see what that sounds like. pretty cool, bro. And now you can play a solo on the bass, play the same solo on the guitar. It's a win-win for me, bro. Believe it or not, when you learn something, it's gonna be inside of you. Gotta work on the wording. You can get away with a lot more when you're playing a bass solo on the guitar because there's usually a lot of accents in the bass playing because bass players know rhythm more than guitarists. So it's not just about the notes that are being played, but it's about how they're being accented. So take this lick for example. I'm gonna play it a bit slow. The G string is always out of tune, isn't it? So I can get away with a lot less than playing every note if I just accent the right notes, right? So I can do... Is it an excuse to play more sloppy? Yes, it is. Another example, this is the final lick basically. It's like a diminished descending thing. So we're going... So all the accents are on the downbeat. So as long as you land whatever note is on the downbeat. So I'm just going to take out all the other notes except the downbeat notes. And I'm just going to play those, right? So... So if you think of it that way, these notes are the skeleton of that lick, and then everything else is built on top of it. So it's kind of like taking a step back and reverse engineering the phrasing. So if you listen to something without accents, without something that's just like shreddy, it's hard to dissect it because all these notes blend together rhythmically, you know? Now your guitar playing is more interesting. You don't sound like every other guitarist. You're not trying to copy every guitarist on Instagram. You can do that with keyboard, you can do that with any instrument. I'm not going to name the instruments. You know the instruments, they exist. Even if you don't have that instrument, you can learn a violin solo on the guitar. Just listen to it and play it. You will still be playing things that were meant to be on a violin. So don't think like, oh, I have to go buy every instrument that exists. Just learn stuff, bro. I think I'm just telling you to learn stuff. If you don't know where to start with soloing on a guitar, definitely consider joining my solo community. I don't call it that. I don't know why I said that. You can join my course, Improve Your Improv, which is supposed to improve your improvisation, improve your approach on guitar. So we learn all these things you need to know about music theory and how to apply it, blah, blah, blah. It gets embedded inside of you. All the good stuff. You can read more about the course in the description. I'm running a huge sale right now for the summer, and it's not going to be forever. It's going to be for a few days. So if you do want to start soloing, this is your sign, bro. You'll also get a... Hey, buddy. Switched. You will have access to a private Discord server with me and other musicians who are taking the course. So if you do have any questions, just hit me up there. Anyway, this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the bass soloing, and I will see you next time.